fantastic bloke to talk to, so I hope that you enjoy what he has to say. I'm sure you will. Let's get a big round of applause going for Stephan Shutze. Oh, by
the way... Two. Okay, microphone working? Hello. All right, good morning. First thing you're going to notice is I talk really, really loudly, even with the microphone. The other thing, firstly, I also want to say hello to everybody living in the intertubes. I speak very, very quickly, so you're going to have to listen even faster, okay? All right, games. That seems to be the general thing we're talking about today. Everybody here plays games, I assume. Is there anybody brave enough to put their hands up in this audience and say they don't play games? Okay, anybody truthfully going to put their hands up and say they don't play games? That's better. All right, just want to get some ideas here first. How many people here, all right, this is all cool, we're playing games, something like that. How many people here actually want to work in the games industry? All right, it might be easier if I ask the other one. Put your hands down. How many people don't want to work in the games industry? That's cool, I'm just getting a bit of an idea. All right, so lots and lots of you want to work in the games industry. All right, let's just start anywhere. You're up the front. You want to work in the games industry?
Sure thing.
What do you want to do? Programming. All right, we have somebody here who's a programmer. What do you want to do? Concept arts. What do you want to do? Programming. All right, the people at the back always miss out. Oh, sorry, I also should have said, guys with the cameras, yeah, you're going to need to keep up. Guy, hat, glasses, what do you want to do? 2 sets of glasses. Another programmer. What do you want to do? Another programmer. All right, anybody want to do something not programming? All right, what do you want to do? Game design. Okay, this gentleman here, all right, the thing Andrew was talking about before, with the idea of you guys being able to put together your own company, he's not kidding, all right, and we'll get to that in a minute. If you do find yourself in a company, treat this man really, really well. Because if you don't have a good game designer, despite what a lot of people think, your game will suck. Because there are a whole bunch of games that get made by people who don't think they need designers. They're wrong. What else have we got? Tester, sorry? Pro gamer. You want to make money out of the games industry? 10 years ago, I would have laughed at you. Today, good luck. You may well make a lot of money. Hand up there. What do you want to do? Game design. All right. Okay, let's break this down a little bit. Artists, put your hand up. All right. Out of artists who've got their hands up, who wants to do 3D modeling? All right. Who wants to do 2D UI design, graphic design, stuff like that? Yeah, there's a few of you. Who wants to just do animation? All right, so we've got a bit of a mix. Okay, last question. Just personally interested in this. Who really, really, really is interested in doing sound or music? Okay, that's better than last year. All right, now, out of those people, who want to just do music? Okay. Who want to do sound? A few of you, a bit of a mix. All right. Why do you want to work in the games industry? I'm back to you.
Because it's an industry that I'm really interested in and I want to be a part of it.
Because it's an industry I'm really interested in and I want to do something I have passion for. I love that answer. Why do you want to be in the games industry? Same reason. Easy? Anybody got a different reason? You. Profitable. You want to make money. Good luck with that. Come see me if you do. You can hire me. I'll do work for you. Yeah, what do you want to get in the games industry for?
Because I like games and I feel that there needs to be more really good games.
Because you like games, you think there need to be more good games. Yep, that's a very good one as well. Hat there, grey top. Why do you want to be in games? Oh, hang on. Say again? All right, you think the way they make them is amazing. All right, cool. All right. I basically do sound and music stuff, and I'm in games because I enjoy playing games, but I also really enjoy what I do. Can we have that first video run, please? Because in a general sort of day, this is sort of some of the stuff that I will do in a general day. right, I spend an awful lot of my time lugging this thing around. Trust me, from what I was lugging around 10 years ago, this is great. What I had 10 years ago was bigger, heavier, and a pain. I started over 10 years ago, and I pretty much wanted to do music. Didn't know much about the industry other than at that stage it was starting to get interesting. The game that got me interested in working for the games industry was a game called Mech Warrior 2. The reason why, one is because it was a really, really awesome game, and two, because it was the first game that I encountered that actually had CD quality music. In fact, the track, if you put it into a CD player, track 1 was all the game data, and all the rest of the tracks were actually the music tracks, and you could just sit and play through it. And I thought, wow, that's really cool, and the music's really cool, and the music's not just beep boop bop bop beep boop bop bop, because that kind of gets a little annoying after a while. So that got me really, really into it, and I decided, cool, great, now what do? And I went back to uni, and they didn't have games courses. You guys are really lucky. I went back to uni and did sort of a techie, music-y course type stuff, and then through some series of events was very, very lucky to get a job in the games industry, and I've been doing that ever since. Recently, I've actually left full-time employment working for a studio. I am now running my own business, which I'll go into a little bit later on, and I'm also doing some teaching at RMIT, Australian Film Television Radio School, bits and pieces like that. But basically, I'm doing that sort of stuff. Chasing tanks and airplanes around the field and you know, things like that. The main reason I'm doing that is because I love it to death. I get to go out and see big things explode and things going fast and meet interesting people, and I learn cool stuff all the time, right? The cannons and stuff like that, I went out there and was like, okay, they've got some old black powder weapons. They dress up funny, but hey, so frankly to half of you guys. From my point of view, I'm not into hoodies. So, great. I get to see these guys, firing cannons and firing old muskets, and then a guy comes up to me with this thing wrapped in cloth and said, hi, do you want to learn how to fire one of these? I'm like, well, what's that? He said, it's a Napoleonic Black Bess musket. And I'm like, hell yes. And he taught me. I mean, that shot was me firing one of those things. Now, the funny thing about that is they muzzle loading, you put the powder in and put the ball in, and then you get ready to shoot it. I actually spent 5 years in the Army, and I did Army basic training, and one of the things they did in Army basic training is you hold your weapon like that at all times. So if it goes bang, at worst it shoots somebody in the foot, not the head. You don't do that with a musket because the little ball rolls out the end. So every time he gave me the rifle, I went like that, and the ball went bloop. So if I go back in time, big fan of Doctor Who, if I go back in time, nobody in the Napoleonic era never has to fear me, because anytime I have a gun, the bullet will have fallen out the end of it. All right, so you've got lots of different reasons for wanting to do this sort of stuff. And I have to say again, I love this reason. All right, now, being passionate about something makes doing it really, really easy. All right, so there's a couple of things I want to try and do today. And we don't have huge amounts of time. And one of them is a fairly big challenge. In less than an hour, I want to try and undo 15 to 16 years worth of training in you guys. Because up until now, I suspect that most of you going to school have been taught one thing, and that's how to be a student. Yeah. And frankly, there's good and bad things about that. I think one of the problems is that they don't teach you to be anything other than a student. I'm going to want to try and show you some of the ways of being a creative content producer. And it's got nothing to do with me showing you how to use a microphone or how to use a Wacom tablet or how to use 3D Studio Max or how to program in C++. It's an attitude thing. Right? Everything you do in an industry, it doesn't matter what industry you're doing, all right? Everything I'm going to talk about today is going to be related to sound. However, 99% of what I say today is just as relevant to coding, to needlecraft, to chicken farming, or whatever, all right? The point is that you've got to find something that you care about, because currently in the world, there's a whole bunch of people who are doing jobs that they're not happy with, that they're generally bored, they don't think they're making enough money, and, they look forward to nothing other than going out on the weekend, drinking beer and watching footy. Now, I'm not saying that drinking beer and watching footy is a bad thing, but if that's the highlight of your life, you're missing out, all right? Because I have to say, every time I get to go out and, for example, I go out regularly now, twice a week, and record World War II era airplanes, and when a World War II fighter plane takes off about 100 metres in front of me and goes in front of it, I giggle like a little boy. And I do it unashamedly because I'm having fun and I'm making money out of doing something I love, all right? No point in being a doctor and earning millions of dollars a year if you don't enjoy it. Don't waste your life, all right? Now, games industry, There is a huge amount of potential, and I'm really, really glad that Andrew said what he did before, because if he hadn't, I would have. So I'm just going to reiterate on what he said before. You guys, there is, I don't know how many people we've got here, 700 odd today? 600 odd. Right, there are 600 creative people in this room, all right? That's the equivalent of a really, really gobsmackingly huge studio or several small studios. There is actually nothing, absolutely nothing stopping you guys from competing with Valve, Relic, Bungie or anybody else, all right? The logistics of it are difficult, but the whole point is that if you put your mind to something and you want to do it, you can do it, all right? Really good example is that the examples of people like Tiger Woods. The reason behind, current media aside, one of the reasons why Tiger Woods got to where he was from an ability point of view is the guy basically decided he wanted to be a golfer, so he decided, all right, I'm going to hit 100 perfect golf shots a day. So he would sit there and he'd go, whoops, screwed that one up. Back to the beginning. 1, 2, 3. Screwed that one up. Back to the beginning. All right? It takes a lot of time to succeed. One of the things I found really interesting, and this is not a criticism of your generation, it's an observation. I've had a lot of people tell me that, young people these days, they want the world and everything like that. I actually think you guys are a bit of a victim of the media, because the media is throwing things like, the X Factor and Australia's Got Talent and all these things at you. And there's this expectation of you must succeed, and you must succeed in the next 30 seconds. You're a complete failure and your life will be horrible. But this is the sort of stuff that media puts on you. You see people who go up on these things and basically they sing in front of 1,000 people and they win a prize and hooray, hooray, hooray. And you guys all think, wow, is that how it's done? The point is that in most cases, the guys that win this have been singing or tap dancing or playing guitar or whatever. They've been doing it for years and years and years and years and years, all right? Now, you may have just amazingly good talent and just be able to do something like that, which means you're about 1 in every 10 billion, right? Or you might be like the rest of us and you have to put a little bit of work into it. One, don't be afraid of the work, because if you're doing something you like, trust me, it doesn't feel like work, all right? I was at Blue Tongue Entertainment for 8 years. There was not one single day in those 8 years that I woke up and thought, crap, I've got to go to work today. Never happened. In fact, most of the time I'd be at work and then I'd sort of stop and then I'd start giggling inanely and go, I'm getting paid to do this. Now, again, it doesn't necessarily mean I was getting paid a lot of money. And when I first started, frankly, I was getting ripped off. And that's something that might happen to some of you. But it's easier to put up with being ripped off working on a game that you're enjoying than flipping burgers somewhere. All right? So that's one of those things. The other thing is, don't be afraid to take steps. All right? Again, going back to your time's run out, you missed the 30 seconds and you didn't succeed. Don't be afraid to think that it might take a little bit longer. I actually got an email from a guy, possibly a little bit older than you the other day. Got an email from a guy who's up in Queensland and he said, hi, I'm just finishing off school, I want to go to uni, I want to be a screen composer. And I wrote back and said, well, define screen composer. You want to work for games? You want to work for film and television? What do you want to do? It's like, I want to work for film and television. Can you give me some advice of what courses I could do? And I told him, look, there's a screen composers course at Australian Film, Television, Radio School, and there's a bunch of other things you can do. But I said, maybe you shouldn't be in so much of a rush to do one of those courses. And he's like, well, why? I said, well, when I taught at AFTRA's, Film, Television, Radio School, and most of the people I taught there were fairly mature. They're in their mid to late 20s or even sometimes in their 30s. Because in a lot of cases, they'd gone and done a basic music degree first, right? Insert anything here, coding degree, art degree, whatever, okay? These guys have done a basic music degree. Now, the point about that is, and I'm not saying that you should spend the next 10 years in uni, but my point is that every time you do something that's relevant to what you're doing, it's a step in the right direction. And more to the point, you're actually getting more mature and more experienced. And this is, frankly, one of the main things. The only reason that I know how to do this stuff better than you guys is because I've been doing it for 10 years. I'm not better than you guys are. I'm not smarter than you guys are. I'm not more talented. In fact, I'll tell you right now, I actually went to a fairly ordinary state school about 5K. I didn't do particularly well. I kind of barely passed year 12. I had no idea what I wanted to do, so I got a job in a bank. Oh boy, was that dull. Then I had somebody say, Victorian College of the Arts, you play music, why don't you go there? I auditioned for VCA on French horn. Lucky break number 1. they desperately needed French horn players because they get enough musicians to build an orchestra, and in an orchestra you have up to 8 French horns. So they needed 8 French horn players. I was terrible. I was competing against, violin. There were violin players there who were so good, who were competing against other violin players who was the best in the country. And I basically walked in and said, "Yeah, look, this is a French horn. I know that this is a French horn. Do you want me to blow in it?" And that almost is how bad I was. And I got in. So, okay, that was a lucky break. Spent the time at VCA and then went, what do I do now? And somebody sort of said, the Armed Forces bands, you can go in the Army and the Navy and play in a band. And I thought, don't know what else to do. So I did. I went and did basic training, like real basic training, like shooting and crawling through mud and stuff like that. And that was horrible, but it was also one of the best things I've ever done. Just from a point of view of self-discipline and everything like that, it taught me a whole bunch of stuff. And I was in the Army for 5 years getting paid money to play music. So I was still doing something musical. I'm still growing musically. I got to write some music of my own. I got to do some, PA engineering sort of stuff like these guys over here are doing. So I was basically doing things that were relevant. I then basically left the Army, turned into a complete hippie, became a vegetarian, went over to England and Europe and spent 18 months over there, growing my hair long, growing a beard, talking to rivers, very, very strange. But I was also working in a theatre in Nottingham. So, working in a theatre, cool, doing lighting and sound? No, selling ice creams. Exactly. And it is funny. I was basically taking tickets and selling ice cream, so not a particularly impressive job. However, I was in England where they get some of the most amazing acts in the world, and they tour all around England because they've got more population than we do. So I would basically sell some ice creams, and I'd sit in the back of the theatre and watch international, operas and classical music and Japanese taiko bands and comedians and rock bands and you name it. I got to watch all this stuff free for a year. So from that point of view, I think the job actually worked out pretty well. Basically, the job was giving me enough money to live and giving me the experience. Okay? So all of these sorts of things, if you can't instantly get a job exactly where you want to be, if you say, I'll just go get a job working in a shop, then if you're into music, work for JB or HMV or whatever. If you're into games, work for EB if you can. Work somewhere that's at least relevant and keeping you passionate about it. Because if you go get a job at a bank, and I'm sorry if any of your parents work in banks, but they're dull. They're really, really dull. And, I know I've got some friends who work in banks. They're still dull. All right? And you might make some money out of it. You might get a cheap home loan, but, seriously, I think you can all do better with your life than that. All right. Excuse me while I cool down my throat. How are we going? Cool. This thing keeps falling off my head. I've obviously got a funny shaped head. All right, so this thing. Does everybody here understand completely what this is and how it works? Yes. Mumble, mumble, mumble. Does anybody want to know? Yes. All right. Tech failure. Or head failure, one of the two. All righty. Okay, basically, the way I've got this set up is this is pretty much my own modification of the way the system works. These days, you've got a lot of little things like this, all right, which is just this little square unit here. This is a digital recorder. This particular brand I use fairly regularly because I really quite like it. I bought the first one of these when I was in Japan, and it's quite a good unit because it allows you to plug the big fat cables in the bottom of it, as well as having microphones on top. Now, the big fat cables, these microphone cables, I won't go into why, but the big fat cables with 3 pins, they're the best ones, okay? So if you've got a choice, go with them. Basically what this is it's a digital recorder. I put an SD card in it, I switch it on, and it allows me to record sound in various different formats. So the top one is 96 kilohertz sample rate, 24-bit. Again, you can look that data up on the wiki. We don't have time to go through all of that. Down to MP3 and stuff like that. Now, I don't like MP3. Does anybody here want to tell me why I don't like MP3? You. Yeah, basically, it's a compressed format. And one of the things I found really funny is when I'm teaching at RMIT, I had a lot of my students would give me assignments and they'd give me MP3s. I said, don't give me MP3s. And then the next assignments, they give me MP3s again. With everything that you work on, quality really matters. All right. Now, it's the same with gear and stuff like that. I don't mind spending a lot of money on gear. And in fact, the backpack that I usually carry around has got about 10 grand worth of gear in it. because microphones are really expensive, stuff like that. I don't mind because they do their job properly. I don't mind going out to dinner and spending a lot of money if I get good quality. And this is the same thing. If you do good quality work, people won't mind paying for it. If you do rubbish work, this headset's killing me. If you do rubbish work, then people are going to get kind of grumpy with you. Or more overly, rather than just getting grumpy with you, they will just ignore you. That's the one thing you don't want to have happen. You don't want to be ignored. All right? You want to be noticed, but you want to be noticed for the right reasons. All right, going back to this quickly. Why is it on a pole? Yeah, it gives me reach. Stop interference from my own voice. What? I do sometimes, so yeah, I'll accept that. Okay, these are basically used mainly most of the time in film and television. One of the main things they do is this. Actually, no, it does contribute to that, but one of the main things is that the microphone that's inside this, all right, this fluffy thing is actually not a microphone. This fluffy thing has a microphone inside it, and I'm going to disassemble the whole thing to show you, which is going to take a while. Basically, the microphones that I use are called shotgun microphones. That is because they basically are directional. Not completely, but you point it at something, and generally it gives you a recording of the thing that you've pointed it at. See, that's just a Velcro strap that I've done that to. The reason why I did that is so that basically it can be strapped to the legs of pilots in aeroplanes, so that I can record the inside of the aeroplane as well. So inside this, see, this thing isn't actually a microphone, as I said, it's inside. Anybody want to take a guess as to why I've got this giant fluffy teddy bear thing on the outside? To what?
It softens out sound or something.
Kind of. Oh, that's a good idea. It's got a microphone. Yeah, throw the microphone around. We'll get some other ideas.
It's a filter.
What sort of filter? What's it filtering?
Sound. Wind.
Wind. Everybody's yelling out wind. Why are you yelling out wind?
Because it rushes when it goes
Sound like you're blowing on the microphone.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
horrid noise.
All right. Is this live?
Hello? Yeah, okay. Sorry, headset failure. This is just bugging me. If I decide to move around, I'll yell at you. All right. Okay, yes, when you're recording anything, wind is public enemy number one. The reason why is because basically a microphone has a diaphragm that's kind of like the way your ears work, or like a drum, and it picks up air vibrations, and that's how it works, right? And if you get wind on it, you just kill the recording, okay? So basically what this does is the energy of the wind basically rustles the fur. Rustling fur doesn't make any sound. So the energy gets dissipated in that. All right. So as I pull this apart, one of the other things I'm going to say is regardless of what area you go in, you're going to actually have to deal with various different pieces of equipment. And as I said, if you spending the money on decent equipment can be worthwhile, but you don't need to spend millions and millions of dollars, all right? This little thing, which I use, I take this with me everywhere, every day. I don't leave home without it. $500. And that's that would be enough for you to start and doing your own recording and stuff, and then work up to other things. Okay, so you don't need to spend, yeah, I know $500 is still a fair bit of money, but when you're professional, it's less. All right, so that's what we have inside. All right, now, for those at the back, they may not be able to see, I might go for a walk around with it in a second. In fact,
Drop it down a bit, they'll see it on the plasmas.
oh,
There we go. Yeah, and turn it sideways.
Yeah,
There you go.
There we
Perfect.
go. The camera's over there. All right, basically what you've got here is the microphone, and you can see how the microphone bounces around. That is because it's inside a suspension mount. All right, there's elastic bands in here, and that's to stop vibrations. Okay, so the whole point is that anything that's going to interfere with the sound is problematic. All right, and again, this is the same sort of thing with sort of other equipment you might be using, whether it's sound equipment or visual equipment, cameras, a Wacom or whatever. The point is the equipment, most of the equipment you're going to use in the industry, don't put it down like that, most of the equipment used in the industry is precision equipment because it's designed to do good work. So it pays, especially when you spend a lot of money on it, it pays to take care of it from that point of view. All right, so talking about the games industry, talking about being creative. What sort of things do you think are important from the point of view of being a creative content creator? Creative content creator. Creative content producer, that's a better term. Anybody want to give me some, just throw out some ideas? Yeah, walk around with a microphone and just get people to yell out some ideas.
Never get rid of anything.
That's brilliant. That is very, very brilliant. Yes, keep everything you ever work on. In fact, I was telling one of my students this last night. If you work on something, right, you guys get together and you're going to do a game or whatever like that, keep a logbook. All right, your logbook's really, really useful because one of the things is that you can basically talk about what I did right, what I did wrong, what I learned, what I didn't learn, and stuff like that. All right, now there's a couple of really good reasons for that. One, because you can learn from your mistakes, and two, you never know if what you're working on gets picked up and people want to publish it or whatever. That can become a really good sort of extra little documentary type thing. What other things?
No, change my mind. That's all right.
We had originality down there, and that's actually another really, really good one. One of the things I really don't like about Hollywood at the moment is that it really looks like Hollywood hasn't had an original thought for ages.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even Avatar. I enjoyed Avatar. It was great. Have a look online. Basically, there's somebody who's gotten the script from Pocahontas. Yeah. It's the same script. They just coloured everybody blue.
Dances with Smurfs.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Okay, one of the other things is that if you're going to make something that's already been made, do something different, all right? Quake has been around for years, and the original Quake was basically pretty groundbreaking because it was the first 3D FPS game, right? And there have been other games that are pretty much the same sort of thing. Right? And I've played some FPS games that I really, really enjoy, but I really, really enjoy them because they've done something new and innovative. They haven't just basically gone, well, there's Quake, we'll just copy that and put it out. Fail. Lazy. Don't do it. Seriously. And one of the other things I do have to say, one of the things that was interesting at teaching at RMIT when I gave my students sort of some different assignments, I wanted them to all do a design document, right, as a small assignment. And the number of Space Marines defending against the invading horde designs I got. Now, hey, I love the idea of Space Marines and alien hordes. However, it's been done a million times. Now, think of it this way, all right? Let's just say all of a sudden I walk in here and I've got $1 million and I say, I'm going to fund the best game idea that comes out of here. I'll tell you right now, it won't be a Space Marine game unless you have made it just godlike, because the number of games that you're competing with that are similar is just too much. And frankly, this actually applies to CVs as well, all right? CVs, resumes, show reels and stuff like that. You have to give the person you're talking to, you've got to keep their attention. By the time you finish saying the word Space Marine, you've lost my attention and I'm looking at the next guy in the queue. All right, and this is the thing, you really, really need to do stuff to make yourself stand out for the right reasons. All right, so the originality one is really, really good. Well, let's get one more thing that's important in games.
All right. Anyone? Oh, yeah. Don't tell any jokes.
I'm not going to. You have to have passion for what you're doing.
Yeah, and that shows through as well. There are some games that I've played, and in fact, there's some games I've worked on, and I apologise for this, but there are some games that I've been in teams that I've worked on where it really feels like they phoned it in. It's just like, yeah, I can go to sleep playing this because you guys were asleep when you made it. I mean, if you're not passionate about it, go away, go somewhere else, work somewhere in another industry. I mean, just doing something for the money. I mean, think about this. Okay, you need brain surgery, and I'm your doctor, and I'm going to work on your brain. But, you know, I don't really like being a surgeon, so, you know, I promise I'll sort of do an okay job on you. Is that acceptable? You know, I mean, it really shouldn't be on anything, but I think the problem is in some cases people feel pressured to do what they're doing. All right? Can you guys still hear me if I walk away from the microphone? Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah, take that, technology.
Sorry.
But they can't online. Sorry, I forgot about that. All right. Damn, technology reins me in again. I use it every day, but it bugs me a lot. All right, sorry about that for people on the intertubes. All right, I'm going to just tell you very quickly about what I did last night. I was actually up till 2 o'clock in the morning because one of my students actually works in a supermarket. And when they did their assignment, he basically did a whole bunch of recording in the supermarket and etc. And I had to listen to someone and went, wow, some really good sounds in there. And he's like, yeah, do you want to come over to the supermarket? Because I do the night managing stuff and we can record stuff. I'm like, yeah, cool. All right, supermarket. Who here thinks supermarkets are exciting? You're all lying. You're all lying. All right, okay. All right, before last night, I didn't think supermarkets were exciting. By the time I finished recording the sounds in there, I was gobsmacked because there was like an automatic door that goes up and down that sounds like every robot servo thing you're ever going to need. So by the time, like I'm sitting with this door and it normally does its whole zh-donk, zh-donk. But the thing is, if you actually put your hand in the beam, it stops halfway. So this door is sort of just going, this little sort of thing, zh-donk, zh-donk, zh-donk. I'm thinking, awesome, giant killer robots, zh-donk, 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 zh-donk. And it's, you know, this is a door. And all of a sudden it's like, great, record the door, fantastic. In their office, they had like giant server stack, okay? Giant server stack with, you know, all the patch bays and the servers and all the different fans and everything like that. I put the microphone in 3 different locations in relation to this thing, and I got 3 completely different sounds, all right? Now this is something that this student actually started saying to me, that he didn't notice the supermarket. He'd been working in the supermarket. He didn't notice the supermarket until about halfway through the course where I started saying this sort of stuff, and all of a sudden he's walking around the supermarket going, wow, there's like so many cool sounds here, right? They literally had a trash compactor. It was great. I wanted to throw Luke Skywalker in there and go, get in there and switch it on. Like it was crushing up cardboard stuff. He even got like an old wheel, like one of the big wheelie bins they had out the back, right? And they had to put that out for the truck. And he said, oh, let's wheel it up the road a little bit and then roll it back down again. And it sounded like all of a sudden I've got the sound that I need for every, you know, old mine carts on rails type thing, every Incan tomb thing that's got some giant wheel mechanical trap, every kind of broken down old train or whatever, from this one thing, from a giant wheelie bin. Now, I mean, how easy is it to record a giant wheelie bin? They're all over the bloody place. And I've had access to these things for years. But did I ever actually push one and find out? Nah, it's a wheelie bin. That won't make an interesting sound. And I was wrong. Now, again, this applies especially to you people, anybody who wants to do anything creative or artistic, all right? Go out sometime and have a look at a broken, busted old building, right? Some sort of wrecked building or busted up house or whatever, and actually have a look at the textures there. Have a look at the colours. Have a look at the different colours you get when metal rusts. Have a look at what happens to wood when it decays and rots and splinters. Have a look at what happens to concrete when it stains and starts to crack and fall apart, all right? This is relevant for, it may not be directly relevant for people who are into code, but anybody who's into visual art, sound design, game design, writing, acting, anything like that, one of the big things you need to start doing is actually looking at the world. And this is where sometimes having the screens and the TV and the video and stuff like that, you need to switch it off and you need to get outside. Now, one of the places that really, really taught me this was I spent 3 years living in Japan, right? And there were some awesome things in Japan. The main reason that they were awesome is because they were so different to Australia. So I'm just looking everywhere going, oh, wow, that's different and that's different. So it was far more unusual for me to look at. But like I just said, I just discovered a wheelie bin's really, really cool. I've been around wheelie bins for longer than you guys have been alive, and I'd never noticed this. And it can be one of those things sometimes that you look at something and go, yeah, I never really looked at that. You know, I mean, any of you guys who want to do like 3D modelling and design and any other sort of graphic stuff, pop the bonnet on your mum or your dad's car sometime and really have a look at the engine. Have a look at all the little bits and pieces in there. Have a look at all the different types of metal and how they're textured and the different rubbers and plastics and wiring and all that sort of stuff. The reason why I say this is because years ago I actually saw literally about a 3-year-old child out near a car playing with her 2 brothers. And the 2 brothers were just kicking the ball. This 3-year-old child, 2 or 3-year-old child, was just looking at the car. And it was incredible to look at the look on her face. Because at that age, the whole world, you're discovering the whole world every single day. And I could see her walking along, she's going, oh, it's a car. She's looking along the side of the car. There's a corner. What's around the corner? It's the front of the car! And seriously, the look on her face was like she'd just discovered El Dorado. Because for her, she didn't automatically know round the corner is the front of the car. Well, you and I do. And in some ways, it's kind of like sad. Like, I know that around the front of the car, around there is the front of the car. It'd be really cool if you go around there and they're going, oh my God, it's Tasmania. I mean, but if that happened, you'd spend far more time looking at the world and investigating the world and trying to find out what's going on, rather than just going, oh yeah, there's a street and there's lots of cars going past. Actually stop, look and listen at those things. Look at the cars going past. Hey, there's different models and they're different colours and some are new and some are old and some are, wow, that one's all smoky. Some of them make different sounds from, you know, the old smoky one going cough, 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 blah, 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 to the really cool ones going by. All right, so this is not, like, this is the way I work because this is the way I work with sound, and like I can't walk outside the house without hearing bunches of different sounds. But you can do this for everything, and making it relevant to coders. All right, AI programming. Look at the room you're in now. Look at the number of different people that are in this room and the number of different attitudes and the way they're behaving and the way that some people will sit perfectly still and other people will fidget and other people are kind of interested and other people aren't interested and everything like that. Think about that from the point of view of AI coding. Think about the challenge if I asked you guys to sit down and code an AI routine to simulate this room and the 600 odd people in it. Massive, massive amounts of work involved in that. Okay, so, and you get so much of this just through the experience of looking at the world. And I think the problem is that a lot of people, this is where I go back to the whole, yeah, I just do my job and on the weekend I go to the footy and I drink beer. You're missing the world. And it's got some fairly interesting stuff in it. All right. Water time again. Sorry, I'll do it this way. We don't want any product placement. No product placement. There you go. There's a barcode. So you people on the intertubes, if you've got a scanner, you can work out what it is. Okay. Now, where are we? We have some time. I think what I want to do is show you guys some game footage. Can we please switch to the Xbox? Now, first of all, I did not work on this game. Can we actually see that? Not working. Alright, I'm going to be... can we have this mic? Make it work. Make it work. Good. Alright, have this mic live because I'm going to need both hands. Alright. Now, first off, I didn't work on this game. I know some people who did. I love both Bioshock 1 and 2. Mainly for me, the main reason I like them is the story. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to have a bit of a look at this because I want to start to get you guys thinking like game developers. All right? The game's cool to look at, but it's actually worth looking at games, and you're going to start to have to do this. Looking at a game and not just go, oh, it's a cool game, but looking at the game and actually go, you know what? I think I've got a new game. It's a cool game because what's good about it? Now, I could ask you why you like these games, but what I want to do now is give you some thoughts of things to look at and think about from a design point of view. Now, this design point of view is not just for designers, it's for sound people, artists, coders, AI, all that sort of stuff, all right? Yes, go. Yeah, can we have the volume up, please? Because the whole point is if you're playing a game like this, I'll probably tell you to turn it even louder in a second once it's actually loaded. If it's a good game, I like playing it loud because I like experiencing it. Yeah, sorry, loading times. All right, for a start, I mean, even this, we're getting really nice. We're getting a good graphic design. We're getting a feel for what the game's about. We're getting a feel for the setting. We're getting that in the music we're listening to, the graphics we've got. We've got the sense of decay and everything like that already. Okay, so we've already been given the setting. All right, we get the opening sequence. 1958, before any of us were born. Okay, can we crank it up? Thank you.
Look, Daddy, it's you. Let's go out to play, Daddy.
Okay, so that simple thing already is showing a reflection of you in the mirror. You now know what you are, if you didn't already. If you didn't know the history and you haven't played the game, they've cleverly shown you what you look like. If you played the first game, you'd realise, hang on, I'm playing one of the bad guys from the first game.
More angels, Daddy. This way.
You want something, big guy? Bigger than hard! Get out of here, freak!
There we are. He's perfectly safe now. This is not your daughter. Do you understand? Her name is Eleanor, and she is mine. Now, kneel, please. Remove your helmet. Now, take the pistol. Place it against your head. Fire.
It was like a game where I start the game by dying. Well, from that point onwards, things are probably going to be getting better, you'd think. All right. So I think that's a really, really good introduction. We get 10 years later, so before we've even started, we've got a really good context of what's going on. If you've played the first one, you're like, okay, I'm one of the bad guys from the first one. And the bad guys in the first one were really, really bad. You know, they were a hard challenge to beat up on, and etc. Sorry, I've got to stop talking away from the microphone. And fade in. Now, all the production values in this game are outstanding, and that's one of the other things. Obviously, I really love the sound in this, and I've had lots of arguments with people trying to say, look, we need to improve the quality of sound or whatever. Having the best sound in the world may not get you a AAA title, but find me a AAA title that doesn't consistently have outstanding sound, outstanding graphics, outstanding design, outstanding AI, code, and all that sort of stuff. Anybody who says to you, oh, this particular aspect of the game doesn't matter, then your response to that is, okay, we're not doing an A game. And if they say, yes, we are, you say, no, we're not. Because the point is that if they're basically going to try and lower the standard of any particular thing, it lowers the overall game. It's worth keeping in mind. All right. So, I'm in Fallen is Babylon, and this is bad. I usually play inverted, but anyway. So, for those of you who have not played the game, we're under the sea, and it's pretty falling apart. Now, okay, what I'm showing you here are important design things. There are a lot of scripted events in this that in some cases are very, very subtle. All right, so the little black hole up ahead is where in the opening cutscene we saw that there was a little sister coming out of, and if you've played the previous games, you know that's where they hide. So watch the black hole when I approach. Okay, so anybody who played the first one would be looking at that and going, what the... Because that wasn't in the first one.
Lesson 1, Mop Jockeys. You are under the ocean now. If you feel the soft patter of rain on your hat, you're already fired. Lesson 2. You can jumpstart a dead generator with a direct spark, but clear the guests out of the pool first. Scares these rich pricks to watch a working stiff hurling thunderbolts. You follow me?
Okay, so I'm going to focus on this particular one element because we don't have tons of time and I'd love to show you more of this game. What is this? What have we just had? This little snippet of information. What is it? Let's go back over here. Okay. Is this one live? Cool.
No, I've got one as well if you need it, so.
All right. So what have we just seen? Background fluff explaining the world of the game to you. Yes, that is correct. It's not all it is, but that's correct. Yo. Helping create the atmosphere of the game, giving you a bit of backstory. Yes.
It's telling you what to do without breaking immersion.
Very good. It's telling you what to do without breaking immersion. Now, it's all these things and more. Basically, what we've gotten there is we've basically gotten a character. We will never see this character in this game. In fact, in most cases, you don't physically see many of the characters at all. But you experience them through these little audio tapes. And it's really, really clever because these little audio tapes can do something as blatant as, oi, go and get the thing that gets you electricity to restart this. They've just given you the answer to a puzzle. All right, so in this case, it's a plot device. It's saying, go off there, do that. At the same time, it's giving you a character like, you know, they've done it in a good fluff way in that you really sort of understand the attitude of this woman and, you know, the sorts of things that goes on and her attitude towards a place, something like that. And even just analysing the way she's spoken and stuff like that, you can maybe guess a little bit about who this person is. All right. So it's giving you background fluff to the story. It's giving you directions. It's giving you the answers to a puzzle. And in fact, that later on, they have bunches of different ones where you pick up one and then you pick up another one later on, pick up another one later on, all of the same character. So you can actually get an ongoing story from different characters. And in fact, Bioshock is taken from a couple of other games called System Shock, which are similar sorts of things out in space. And they had the same sort of thing of data things. And you kept finding these data things of these two, this guy and this girl, who obviously, you know, really liked each other and having a relationship. And you just kept finding these things of like, oh, we're going to meet up later. You know, this is in a spaceship full of zombies and everybody's dying. And these two are kind of like trying to find each other. And then at one point, you get to a glass door that sort of starts to open and jams. And you see these two running past. You actually get to see them. And it's like, oh, wow. I've actually seen these characters. And then later on, you get to where all the escape pods are, and you can actually see the window of the escape pod, and you can see them in the escape pod getting away. And at that stage, you're kind of like, hooray, they got out. You know, because it's like they're characters. And the point is, you've started to care about them. All right? You actually care about the characters. Now, this is one of the really, really important things. If I give you a game, and I give you characters in it, and I say, you have to rescue all the characters, and you don't care about the characters, why are you going to rescue them? Why do you care? Right? Now, Bioshock 2 is actually one of the best examples ever. All right? I don't have a paternal bone in my body. I really, really don't have the desire to have children. However, when I play Bioshock 2 as the big daddy and I hear one of the little sisters scream, I go into a raging frenzy of like, get the hell away from her and we'll just like destroy everything around her. And that's me. All right? So it's pulling some of my strings. And that's the point. If you can actually write characters and write a story that will pull the strings of your viewers or your players, then that's going to be a successful story. Joss Whedon is very good at this. J. Michael Straczynski is very good at this. There's a few other people who are good at this. If you care about the characters, you'll want to play the game and you'll care about what goes on. All right? Now, we're running out of time, so I probably should let some people ask some questions because there's probably some people who've got some questions. Do we want to run around with the microphones? Do you want to run around? You want to run around with this one as well, and I can answer them through here if you like. So, yeah, any questions?
Yeah. So for you, oh, it's working. So for you, was that opening just like an orgy of sound? Because of all like the noises and stuff are going on, and you program a lot of those kinds of noises. Like,
sorry, what do you mean?
Like, what was it like for you to listen to that?
Oh, to Bioshock?
Yeah, because it's so much noise and so much going on, and so many kinds of sound effects.
No, see, this is the thing. I don't actually consider it to be an orgy of sound. There's so much going on in there, and in fact, I would love to have shown some other bits in there because there's bits later on where you're actually underwater, and the only thing you can hear is the breathing of your character. Now, I'm not going to ask why because we just don't have time. I realised that the breathing of the character was really, really important for a bunch of reasons. One, it basically makes you feel like you're isolated and underwater, but also it changes completely what the character was from Bioshock 1. In Bioshock 1, the Big Daddies were monsters. When you're underwater and all you can hear is your breathing, it humanitizes it. It turns your character into somebody who is a human being, not just a monster. Because it wasn't sort of like, it was just breathing like you and I would. Right, so something as simple as that, and in fact there are a lot of subtleties in the sound in Bioshock that I really notice and that I really, really love and appreciate.
Stand up.
Do you generally just work on sound effects or do you do some music composition?
If we can we, is my laptop able to get on the screen? I think we were. Yes, I do work on both. I actually started doing, I started doing sound and music. Some of the games I did, very first game I did was Starship Troopers, and I did everything for that, sound and music. The second game I did was Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. That was the first Australian-made game to have a fully orchestral score. All right, so I wrote a fully orchestral score with Melbourne Symphony. At the time, it was fantastic, and it scared the hell out of me working with those guys, because they're brilliant, and I didn't think I was. So yes, I've done both. These days, I'm working mainly on, this thing here is the logo for my current project, which I will tell you about very, very quickly, because it's something that's hopefully going to be useful to you guys. I've spent the last 3 years or so assembling pretty much all the recorded material I've had over the last 5 years and creating an online sound library. The idea behind this is that there are, and it's not just sound effects, there are tutorials, there's a recording journal, there's all sorts of information there, but the core of it is a sound library with currently 14,500 sound effects. I am adding 100 sound effects every week, and it's all free. So if you want to use it for your projects that Andrew tells you should all be getting together and doing, you can do that. And I'll just quickly show you. What you do is you download this little thing. This is called Sound Librarian. Works a little bit like iTunes. One of the first page just has the news, so you can look at the website through there. That's just all the sort of stuff from the website. Then you would go across to the library thing, and you go, all right, I want a sound for a tank. So I type in tank. It searches. Give it a few seconds. And anything with the word tank in it. We actually need to refine the search engine a little bit, because at the moment, if you type in CAT for cat, you'll get cat and catalogue and category and everything else. So we need to improve upon that. And if you look down here, everything that's in red is available online to download. This one that's in green, we've already downloaded it. So it's local on my machine. Do we have sound on this, on the laptop? So you press play. And it gives you a 5-second sample. Gives you information on the sound, when it was recorded, what it is, the keywords that I use, the equipment that I use, any sort of extra information and an image. And you can search for things like that, and they will download onto your local machine. All right. This has been designed as a resource to be used. This has been designed for you guys to use it, because when I was at uni, this sort of stuff didn't exist. And if you've got any idea about how much professional sound libraries cost, it's thousands. All right, so use this, enjoy using it. If you make millions of dollars, throw me some money. Other questions?
Yeah, you've talked a lot about sort of making AAA games, doing like this brilliant work and stuff, and you've talked about writing for orchestral scores and stuff.
Yep.
So how do we go from being like a 15-year-old kid working on Sibelius to, writing orchestral scores?
Very, very good question. There's no one answer. One of the things I will say is, again, Andrew's idea is actually very valid from the point of view of getting into things like mod community is a really good way to start. That's how the guys started with Portal. They're just a bunch of guys, students, who basically came up with that idea. And there's been other students who've come up with very, very good ideas. In fact, I think, wasn't Counter-Strike originally a mod?
Yeah, it was.
That was so good that Valve basically said, yeah, we'll take that. This is the point. If you make something that's good, it will shine through. I actually think also one of the other things that's really good at the moment is you've got PlayStation Live, PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, iPhones, iPads. Now, somebody was saying to me the other day, oh, no, don't tell students to get into iPhone apps because there's too many of them. Yes, correct. There are a lot of them. Most of them are rubbish. So if you make a rubbish one, nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to pay any attention to it. But if you make one that's really, really good, people will notice it and people will buy it. It's as simple as that.
What was your most difficult sound you had recorded?
The most difficult sound? Okay, there are various different things that can get in the way of sounds. One of the problems is background sound. Right, like if I'm trying to record something here and there's a fan going, I don't get this, I get the fan. I spent about 2 months chasing a bird when I was living in Japan. Like we were way up north, away from Tokyo, and there was this cuckoo, quite literally, cuckoo, bird that basically kept flying up and landing on a tree in our backyard. The problem was that we were up sort of halfway up a hill and the main road was down there. So if I pointed the microphone at the bird, I was also getting the cars in the background. And every time I tried to sneak around, by the time I got to, I'm in a great position, the bird would fly away. And I was chasing this bird for 2 months. Every time I heard it, I'd go chasing it. And then one day I heard it up behind our place, so that was easier to do. It's kind of like hunting sometimes, but less violent.
Would you count Bioshock as a form of art?
I'm glad somebody asked that question. I don't know if any of you heard, there was, I can't remember his name, there's some, I was going to say a word I probably shouldn't say in front of you guys, you all know the word, so insert appropriate derogative term of person here. There's a guy in America who I think is a film critic or something.
Roger Ebert, it was.
Yeah. Who's basically saying, oh, games will never be art and they can't be art and blah, 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 yeah, whatever. I think that Bioshock has a lot of very artistic things in it, and I think it ticks enough of the boxes that it's getting very close. I would probably call Braid art before I called
I would agree.
Bioshock art. Yes. Braid is genius. And this is the whole point. It's a tiny, simple little game. You guys could have made this. Quite simply, you guys could have made this if you had a great idea. Okay, so whether Bioshock is art or not, I love it. Whether it's art, I don't know. The production values in it are outstanding. Any of you who've played Uncharted 2, the production values in that are off the scale. That is just fantastic. If you haven't played Uncharted 2 and you've got a PS3, buy the first one, play that, then buy Uncharted 2. Seriously, it is really, really good. To sort of broader answer to that question, yes, I do actually believe that games can and will become more so art. And people like Roger Ebert or whatever can kiss my hairy yellow backside. And I'll say that publicly on the intertubes.
You've said you don't like MP3s for your for sound. What format would you recommend for background music and soundtracks for games? Okay. When I say I don't like MP3s, obviously if you're doing something on an iPhone, memory is one of your problems. And this is actually, there's a constant battle to get your assets at the highest quality and squeeze them onto a disc or whatever and make them fit. So MP3 sometimes can be good because it's the only option. You know, we've got, 1 meg and we've got to get everything into 1 meg. Okay, so you do what you can. Generally, if it's a console game, I would say it should be uncompressed WAV. And then maybe choose your sample rate depending on how much space you have. Ultimately fantastic, 48 kilohertz would be great, but the reality is if you want to fit it into memory, you might have to be 44, 22, whatever. But yes, if you're doing an iPhone game, there are compression formats that you need. If you're doing a DS game, and trust me, getting sound on a DS is really hard because it's got all its own proprietary ways of doing things. But it is compressed as well. Any other questions?
What do you think is a better sounding game, Fallout 3 or Bioshock 2?
A better sounding game, I would say Bioshock without hesitation. But that's sort of a bit of a personal one as well. And I played both, I've finished both, I love both a lot. For me, I suppose you could say I'm a little bit of a dag or a softie or a romantic or whatever. If I go and see a film, I switch off and I enjoy the story. I don't care about whether the effects are good or bad. I'll worry about that afterwards. And I tried to do the same thing with the game. The very first time I played Bioshock 1, and it came up to the save the little sister for the first time, I went, yeah, I'll go good. And I'll explain that in a minute. I'll go good. And it played this beautiful, it's only like a 5-second long little snippet of music when you save the little sister. And I've just gone, that's so nice. I want to do that again. So I just kept saving them because it was a nice little piece of music. It gave me this little bit of reward. And Bioshock 2 did the same thing. The music all the way through was very emotional. It's kind of like, you have one of the little sisters go, pick me up, Daddy, and it's playing some nice sort of soft music and everything like that. It's like, it's cute. It's hard for me to resist. On playing the good guy, bad guy thing,
I generally play good guys in games because I found that it's very difficult for me to play bad guys. The first time I discovered this weakness was when I played Knights of the Old Republic, and I finished the whole game. One of the best games ever. I finished the whole game on good. I basically tried to play it as an evil person, and that lasted the first time I saw somebody beat up on a Wookiee, and I said, no bloody way. And took out all the bad guys, and it went, ka-ching, you're a good guy. And I'm like, ah. I think we have to wrap up, because otherwise I'll be here talking all day. Seriously, you can't shut me up. So, hang on. Okay, I don't go anywhere without this, and if you guys are all going to applaud, I'm going to record it. Yeah, scream your heads off. Go for it. I'm good. I'll keep talking if you don't come and stop me. Doing that?
Lunch should work. As much as I love to keep talking, it is time for lunch. So go eat and be merry. At 1:30 we'll start again. Many more places are open now as it is a